Morning, everybody. CW here. All right, we're going to do a really quick, well, you know how that goes. We're going to do a video on some 32s, and I'll throw in a couple 38s just to measure here, because we had some comments, and I wasn't 100% sure myself. We had a comment that it was not safe to shoot the 32 longs, the 32 Colts in the 32 Smith & Wesson chambers and the 32 rimfire in the 32 longs and Remington's chambers. So let's address those comments. Let's measure some of these cartridges and let's see just what we've got and what's going on. Now, I didn't bring out 357 or 38, so I'll probably have to pause. So we'll hold off on the 38s until after. We'll do the 32s first, because I did bring out some of my 32 Target wad cutter loads, 32 H&R Magnums, and 327 Federal Magnums, or Super Magnums, I like to call them, because in fact they are a Super Magnum. Not just because I like the name, but because they're a Magnum version of a Magnum cartridge. So you had the 32 Smith & Wesson long that H&R lengthened a little bit and put a Magnum name on it. This is the 32 H&R Magnum. And then you've got the 327, which took the 32 H&R Mag and lengthened it more. So it's a Super Mag. It's a Magnum of a Magnum. It's like the 357 Maximum. It's a Magnum of a Magnum, or a Super Magnum. There we go. So let's get some base measurements. Okay. So rim diameter, we've got 369 on the rim. Base of the cartridge, not in the cut, we've got 334. And overall length doesn't matter. We know the bullet diameter is going to come in at what does this one come in? 305. Well, we're not completely on it, so we can't really measure that accurately. But we know they're all 32s. We're not arguing that. We're arguing case dimensions. So there we go. That's the 327. So we've got the same exact rim dimension, 369, 368 and a half. That kind of dimension difference, it could be just a little bit of crud or dirt on here. It could be just a manufacturer's difference. A couple of thousands or tenths of thousands isn't going to make any difference. Let's measure the base of the cartridge. Not at the cut, but right at the base. And we've got the same thing. 334. Okay, so there we go. That's a 32. So we know 32 H&R Mag can be fired in 327. 32 Smith & Wesson long. We've got actually a slightly larger rim diameter, but not enough to be a problem. We are right at 370. We were 369 for these two. Not enough to be a problem. We know that they can be fired interchangeably. The base is again just a whisker larger. We've got 3345. We had 334 for these two. So these three we know can all be fired and are safe to be fired in the same gun. As long as it's a 327, or as long as it's a larger one, you can fire the smaller, shorter cartridges. Here's one not everybody knows can be fired in the 327, in the 32 H&R, and in the 32 longs. Now, I would be leery in some 32 long guns because this can be a little bit higher pressure. So be leery of that. Although it will fit, it may not be safe in some old 32 Smith & Wesson chambered weapons. Rim diameter. Now we're going to see a difference here because if you don't know it, this is a rimmed cartridge. Most of the ACPs are rimmed. They've got a slight rim on them. So the diameter of our rim here is less. It's 33565. 33565. So we were 6'9" before. So I'm sorry, 5'6". 3356. We were 3369 before. So it's a little bit less, but it will catch on the rim. I fired these a lot in the 327s and they're just fine. Base diameter of the cartridge, not in the cut, is a little bit less. We are at 332, and we were at 334 with these three. Okay, so there's the 32 auto. Again, it's got a slight rim on it, so it will fire and is safe to fire in 327 H&Rs and 327 Federal Magnums and 332 H&R Magnums. It may or may not be safe in all 32 Smith & Wessons because some of these guns are old and not very strong. So we know that, we pretty much knew that, but we just assured it. So let's go over here. What we have over here is 32 Colt. Now, what I had said was I thought these might have been a healed bullet. These are not a healed bullet, okay? A healed bullet is like what you see with a, trying to see if we had a healed bullet here. Like you saw with, none of these are healed bullets. Like you saw with a 22 long rifle. The bullet is actually the same diameter as the case. The bullet in the back of the bullet shrinks down and then extends longer. So the brass flows and is the same diameter as the bullet. That's a 22 long rifle. That's a healed style bullet. And that was some of the early bullets. And it was probably the 32 rimfires that I was thinking of when I said that. So here's a 32 Colt, and it is not a healed bullet. So let's measure our rim. Our rim is larger. Okay, we were, if you remember, we were 3369 on the rim. This rim is 3376. So we're quite a bit bigger on the rim. Is that going to be too big? Probably not, but it might be. So let's measure our base case dimension. So this again is not in the rim cut. It's just proud of that. And we are 335. Okay, so let's just refresh. Go right here back to 327. And we are 334. So we're almost a thousandth larger at the base. Will it go in? Probably into some guns, may not into all. So there we go. So this cartridge should go into most 327s and most 32 H&Rs. And pressure levels of this are pretty light, so you're going to be safe across the board. Whether this would be safe in a Smith & Wesson long, because it won't fit in the short, is up in the air. I believe the pressure levels are going to be safe, but again, the best choice, your best travel route is to only shoot the cartridge that is chambered on your barrel. It's named on your barrel. That's the cartridge you should shoot in your gun and nothing else. But a little bit of knowledge of pressures, diameter, bullets, dimensions, you can probably safely fire multiple different cartridges in different chambered guns. So that was 32 Colt New Police that we showed you yesterday. So here's 32 Long Colt. This is a really different looking bullet, reminiscent of a lot of early black powder cartridges. The brass is larger than the bullet. Let's see what we've got for some dimensions here. We've got that same larger diameter. What do we have here? I've forgotten already. I thought it was larger still. It was. So we were 376 for this dimension. That's new police ammo. This is Long Colt. This is 371. So a little bit bigger than we saw with the 327 Federal, but not enough difference to be a problem. It's maybe 2 thousandths at most. Let's measure our dimension of the base of the case here. And we're quite a bit smaller. Okay, we are 316. 316. Again, let's refresh. These were the same, so let's go back here. 334. 316 to 334. That's a substantial difference, okay? 316. Do it again. Okay. So we are almost 20 thousandths smaller in diameter for the 32 long Colt than we are for the 327 or for the 32 Smith & Wesson. Now, I know I've read that these are fired interchangeably many times with no problems, but it is quite a bit different in dimensions. So that warning that we got from one of the posters about splitting cases, please don't do it. It might happen. I believe that it's probably happened more because the brass is really old. Being a 32 long Colt, it hasn't been produced in forever. And the brass is probably quite fatigued and old and brittle. So that's probably the reason it cracked. I believe it would be safe to fire if it didn't crack, because, you know, once it cracks, you're releasing pressures. They can come back at the shooter. They can come out the sides. They can go places that they're not supposed to go. So that's a concern. So to be on the safe side, I would side with him and say that you probably shouldn't shoot this ammo in anything but the gun it was chambered for, because it is slightly smaller in diameter of the case. And it's enough smaller, 20 thousandths, that you could get splits. If it's good, you know, healthy, clean, new brass, it would swell that no problem, and you wouldn't have a problem. Look at how much brass swells with 40 Smith & Wesson 9mm, 10mm with the smiles, okay? The smile is you get into the generous portion of an open chambered gun, like a Glock, like a lot of the semi-autos. They're loosely chambered and the case swells. You get a swollen case head right around the web of the area where we're measuring, and that's swelling more than 20 thousandths. So the brass will do that and safely hold that, as long as the brass is in good shape and newer. Brass gets brittle, it gets old, it fatigues. This is an old cartridge we're talking about. So that was safe information, and it always is safe to chamber and shoot only the cartridges that are listed on your barrel. So there we go. You can decide for yourselves. We're all adults here. I'm not going to recommend you in any way, shape, or form what you do. I'm just going to tell you what I find for measurements and what I might do. Here is 32 Smith & Wesson. When you see 32 Smith & Wesson, it means the short. It's the short version of the 32. And there we go. The same, just maybe a few half a thousandths larger with the 32695 or 70 dimension. Base of the case, we're back at the 334. Actually, we're 3335, so a tiny bit smaller here. Here's a Remington version of the same. This is, I'm just going to read it and make sure. Yes, 32 Smith & Wesson Remington. So this should be identical to that. And you see what we've got here? We've got a rim diameter that's about 3 thousandths larger. So what we're seeing there is just a manufacturer's difference. And that's fine. That's the same. It's the same ammo. 32 Smith & Wesson, 32 Smith & Wesson. So you see the little dimensional differences you can find just from manufacturers. And we're the same 334 dimension. So what else do we have here in 32? We've got two more. Here we have an old Winchester 32 Long Colt. We measured a Remington, so let's measure a Winchester and we'll compare them here close. Well, looky there. We're back down to the same rim dimension that we had with the 32 Smith & Wesson. Same. We didn't have that over here. We'll do that in a second. I'll show you. Base of the case. But we're back small. We're actually half a thousandths larger than we were over here. But it's still almost 20 thousandths smaller than the 32 Smith & Wesson. So good advice. Only fire the 32 Long Colts in the 32 Long Colt. because they are a little bit smaller in dimension, in diameter, than a 32 Smith & Wesson. So let's measure this rim again. All right, I was mistaken. It was the other one that we found was big. So there we go. This is 372 for the Remington and 372 for the Winchester. So no difference. I was mistaken. And the one last one here is some clad. These are copper washed bullets from Winchester. And these are also 32 long Colt in caliber. Rim diameter, right at the same, 3370. Base of the brass, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm right at the base of the web, and we're the same or very close. So we're 315. Again, let's reiterate. 32 long Colt is smaller diameter than 32 Smith & Wesson, smaller diameter than 32 H&R, smaller diameter than 327. Probably not safe because of the older brass. It might split, and it could send gases back towards the shooter, which is unsafe. So don't advise you to shoot 32 long Colt in a 32 Smith & Wesson or 327 or 32 H&R. Let's look at the 38s. I think everybody knows these are 38 Smith & Wesson, that these are bigger than, actually we've got two different cartridges here, but they were labeled the same. Oh no, I'm sorry, my bad. 38 Smith & Wesson, 38 Colt, and 38 long Colt. So we've got three different cartridges here. So let's get some 38s Smith & Wessons and a 357 Smith & Wesson Magnum so we can compare those. Stand by. Okay, I did a little housekeeping. Let's wrap this up. So we're going to start with the 38s here. We've got a 38 short Colt. We've got a rim dimension of 433. A base dimension of 374.5. That's a 38 short Colt. Let's go over here to a 38 special. We've got a rim dimension of 433. Rim dimension was here 432. So close enough to be the same. A base dimension of 376. I think we're just a little bit less over here. We were, yeah, 374. So these are fine. You can fire 38 short Colts in a 38 special without any problem at all. 357 is going to be the same as 38. We should know that. 73. 473 rather, and 376. So we should know that. 38 long Colt. Let's try this one. We've got a rim dimension of 432. Rim dimension of 433. Close enough. A base dimension. Now, this is a different style case. This is a balloon head case. And again, if you remember my last video, balloon head cases lack that rim cut. You see that undercut there? Balloon head cases will usually lack that, like this one. There's nothing there. Meaning that it's a black powder case, which is kind of surprising. But it says smokeless. It says smokeless, and this is a factory loaded. So it's just probably old. This is an old box. So it's just probably old brass. So let's measure it. Let's measure it as if there was a cut there. And we've got 377. And what do we have here? 375. So probably enough that it wouldn't be a problem to fire all four of these interchangeably. Bullet diameters, again, it's going to be hard to measure these, but let's see what we can do here. I'll try and get really close to the, we've got 370, 370. So this is a healed bullet. This is a healed bullet. This one here is not a healed bullet. And our dimension is more commonly 355, 356. Again, that's not the shank of the bullet. That's the driving band, so it's going to be a little bit less. But again, over here, you saw what I did. Measured the same area, and we've got 370. So the short Colts were a healed bullet, like a 22. Let's go over to 38 Smith & Wesson. Our rim dimension here is 432. Let's do a 38 special. 38 special. This is just a federal case. We've got 433. So the rim dimension is the same. Again, see here? No cut. Let's measure down as if there was a cut there. And look what we got here. 385 base dimension. 385 base dimension here. 375. So 10 thousandths greater. More than likely, this is not going to fit in a 38 special. This is a 38 Smith & Wesson. Now, the bullets are bigger too, but not as much bigger as we saw over here. They generally run about 360. So, seeing as I'm only measuring the driving band, that's about right. I can't get this. I got too many things in my hand. Yeah, 360. So these bullets generally run 360, 362 in lead. So this shouldn't even fit in a 38 special 357 Magnum or the Colts. So there you go. We've gone through all of these now. Let's hope we've explained it and shown you the reasons why we derived at the opinions that we've arrived at. These four here can be fired. They'll all fit. They'll all chamber. Very low pressure. This is a healed bullet. It's bigger. So yes, you're shooting a larger bullet, but it's a lead bullet, lower pressure. In cartridges, in modern guns, it's not going to be an issue. Safest is always to fire only the cartridges that are named on the barrel of your firearm. This one here isn't going to fit, and it's just for those guns. So there we go. I hope we've dispelled some rumors and some myths with actual measurements of what these cartridges are. Again, I'm not suggesting you shoot anything in anything that's not labeled from the factory to be from that firearm. That's on you. I'm only telling you things that I have done. God bless everybody. Please be safe. CW out.